Through this important dialogue, please welcome our moderator for the session, which is Mr. Jack Yao from Amanah Raya Berhad.
Next, please welcome Ms. Sim Wei Yi, the founder and senior partner of Mrs. Sim and Raman, a respected voice in the legal and estate planning industry. Next, joining us, Encik Ahmad Feizal Sulaiman Khan, the Group Managing Director of Amanah Raya, a leader known for redefining trust management in Malaysia.
And joining them together is Dr. Eva Wong, the Business Development Manager at Marvel Capital Holding Limited, who will bring a fresh international perspective to the conversation. Okay. Panelists, the floor is yours.
Testing. Oh yeah, everybody can hear, right?
Yes.
So I think I need to get myself comfortable first before anything. But anyway, we are honored. That's actually we got invited, right, and to participate in this very great conference. And in fact, echoing from Marco and also of course Miss Sim, right, regarding this, getting everybody here and getting a sharing session. And getting all the stakeholders or even the involved professionals to actually come into such a great session to have a conference to get everybody in the loop for, Marco, what's actually you use the word of that intelligence, a swarm. Okay, so that actually
Swarm is like the insects.
Swarm, like everything. Yeah, swarm intelligence is actually new words that actually I learned, which is actually great. In fact, it's something that we have always been talking about, right? Getting everybody's intelligence together, right? And definitely, for the meantime, I think, in future, I'm not sure, like you're saying, definitely we are better than artificial intelligence because the feeling is not there. The feeling is not there. Okay. Anyway, just I think maybe we just dive right directly into our topic today, right? Of course, very strong word that actually we use, right? The art and science of will writing and trust planning. Great words. Of course, we have all the professionals and great people here. The practitioners, talking about everybody comes in together, right? So from the legal practitioners, of course, Amanah Raya in the sense of public trustee, and of course the Marvels in the sense of people who actually has been practicing and looking to trust plannings. Okay, I think I'll just go in directly, right? For the first question that actually I want to pose, or maybe just sharing, right, from Encik Feizal. In the sense of Amanah Raya, we've been talking about, Amanah Raya is actually one of the key parties sponsoring also. So what's actually the Amanah Raya's pivotal role, right, in the whole scheme of things, in the sense of asset administration, planning, or even, in fact, in the sense of the extended version of the legacy planning in the universe of that?
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for the question. Simple answer to that is that Amanah Raya, we are the public trustee as opposed to the private trustee. In that sense, we were set up with a national responsibility. We were mandated by the government to ensure that the estate administrative services reaches all walks of life, everyone in Malaysia. So we were set up in 1921 with a national responsibility, and we are governed under the Public Trust Corporation Act 1995. So the common perception is that estate administration service is for the wealthy group, and that's simply not true, because when assets are left behind and left unattended to, all families, regardless of their income and financial bracket, will come across the same risks. The loved ones will be left uncertain, and your dependencies can go unprotected, and disputes may arise regardless of how much or how little assets are left behind. And being the public trustee in Malaysia, that's why it is essential that our services are accessible, relevant, and most importantly, holistic, as in we are a one-stop center where we provide will writing services, trustee services, and more importantly, estate administration services. And what differentiates us from private trustees is that we have the authority to act and provide letters of administration. And most importantly, and I would like to take a moment, this has to sink in. Amanah Raya has the authority to be appointed as the administrator, trustee, and executor. And this is a unique position of Amanah Raya. And I can't stress enough, again, one of the benefits of having these conferences is that although we have the authorities by the government, but it's important that the community is aware and engage the services, and vice versa. It's important for Amanah Raya to viral the awareness, and that's why we're here today, right? So, and another thing that we are doing is we have the Jejak Waris activity, where in addition to just providing estate administration services, as the public trustee, we go out of our way to search and identify the beneficiaries.
Sorry, Mr. Feizal, can I just ask you, just now you said the Jejak Waris activities, right? Can you just explain a bit on the maybe translation of Jejak Waris?
Jejak Waris is a process to locate and identify the beneficiaries, because in some cases we have, especially when cases without a will, some of the beneficiaries don't even know that they're inheriting these assets, and some of them are hard to find. So that's one of our activities. We go out and identify and locate them and distribute the assets to them.
Okay, so the direct translate, I think, is actually like Jejak Waris means it's a Bahasa Malaysia for the international audience here, right? So in English, it's actually called the beneficiary searching. Beneficiary searching
Activities.
Activities, yes.
Yeah. So essentially that's it. I mean, our role as a public trustee is that our role is mandated by the government, and we're here to serve everyone, regardless of background or income bracket.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting thing. That I think Mr. Feizal is actually more like explaining that's actually what's the pivotal role of it, and maybe some people know, and maybe some people is actually not aware about the original mandate, right? That's actually given, that's actually explained, right? But looking into that, right? I think I wanted to pose another question, not to Encik Feizal, but to Dr. Iwa, and congratulations on your new PhD. In fact, Dr. Iwa, just maybe round of applause for her PhD. So, Dr. Iwa, because actually, like Mr. Feizal actually mentioned about the role of Amanah Raya as a public trustee, and the key roles that actually the public trustee have difference with the private trustee. As a private trustee, right, and plus looking to Marvel's in the sense of company Marvels, not the movie. So Marvels, in the sense of you have the experience, in the sense of loved ones or perspective of offshore, in that sense, right? Because since talking about public trustee role, technically speaking, I think just now was mentioning about more in the sense of onshore kind of things, right? So as the offshore, right, perspective of things, right? I think your expertise have in that field. So can you share a bit in the sense of whether onshore, offshore, and how this link to the we talk about will writings means that legacy planning in the sense of a trust or will, right? And how this link with the offshore, how it works actually.
Okay, thank you, Jack. In fact, if you look at estate planning works well when we integrate every tools together. We have will, we have onshore trust, right? We have public trustee. So at Marvel Capital, actually, we are offshore trust advisory company. We do work with a few licensed entity on asset management part and also trustee part to help people to secure their legacy. That's the goal for today, right? The mission is to secure legacy and also help to secure the future of the next generation, right? On the onshore trust, people are selecting trust solution because they want to protect their asset, right? So why offshore trust? Onshore trust is very economical, right? We are engaging local people here to put their assets into the trust so that they can set aside their trust and not being claimed by creditor, lawsuit, and etc. But it is less suitable when we are talking about global assets. Nowadays, you see people are venturing into global. Businessmen wanted to expand their business overseas. Parents are sending their children abroad. And nonetheless, we will have offshore assets as well. We have global assets. Maybe Singapore account, share accounts overseas. It doesn't make too much sense if everything is put in onshore, right? But if we are choosing to put this asset under the offshore trust structure, it enables global assets, right? The first thing is to consolidate all the global assets under one roof, where it can enable easy access, also easy distribution. Now we are no longer talking about the global asset itself. We might have beneficiaries located in various countries. How do we distribute these assets in a more seamlessly? So through offshore trust structure, we can help all these people here. But again, talking about disadvantage, I need to touch a bit disadvantage of offshore. It comes with costs. Like Ahmad Feizal just now mentioned, public trustee is available for all the people in different stages. Unfortunately, maybe private trust come with a little bit of cost, right? So it is suitable for global clients with global assets. But if they are having only local assets, then perhaps onshore trust can be one of the best solutions for the client. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, actually, in fact, right after you say that, I have another question to you.
Okay.
In the sense you're talking about the cost itself, right? I'm just curious, is it like, because it's offshore, right, and multi-jurisdictional asset might come into play, if I understand it right? So is it like the cost comes from the kind of compliance cost, or any kind of things like regarding that? And how's the compliance things work in the sense of offshore? Is it that you need to follow multi-jurisdictional kind of reporting standards or anything like that?
Yeah, at Mount Capital, actually, we specialize in Hong Kong trust. Why we choose this jurisdiction? There are few reasons. One of them is that Hong Kong is one of the leading financial centers, so everyone know about this jurisdiction, and it has very comprehensive law framework as well. And Hong Kong does comply with FATCA in 2014 and also CRS in 2017. So by putting the asset into the trust, the client will rest assured that all these are compliant, but we don't sacrifice the private and confidential. All this information is not recorded under any public register. That makes the client rest assured that this will still be kept confidential from the public eye. But when it's needed, it can be reviewed to only the tax authorities under the CRS and also the FATCA tax reporting regime.
Anyway, it's actually a vested interest for myself to ask that question anyway. But looking into that, it sounds like part of the compliance might be very heavy in cost also, right?
Correct.
So if I didn't get it wrong, so it seems like that's the reason why actually you have a certain level of a cost structure compared to the onshores,
Yes.
more complicated compliance costs, administrative costs, that kind of things.
Yeah, when we come to global asset, as you know, we need to deal with different country jurisdiction. We need to understand their taxation even better. So we will structure a trust that can help to suit the client needs. Let's say if they have UK, Australia things, if you put in, definitely we need to consider the cost part as well. The cost major coming from setting up the trust involve legal fees, and in terms of administrating it as well. Like if we are putting in a property inside the trust, it needs a lot of administration works. So there's no standard solution to all these advice on asset planning, but we are looking at the client needs and see what is their ultimate purpose. If the ultimate purpose is for distribution, of course, it can put into the trust. But if let's say they are still going to use the assets when they are setting up the trust, there's no point of putting in all these things and then put in, take out, put in, take out. It doesn't make sense as well.
Great. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
come to that, right? Because legal comes to play and talk about administrative comes into play and look into a different kind of jurisdiction. I think I'll have that, right, and flow to our Miss Sim as the most qualified lawyer in this panel with a lot of practice.
Sorry, I'm looking at him slowly, right? It's a bit
very
awkward. Can we have like a bit out? No, later on your guy please susun a bit. Ini kena ada halal get, right? I mean like, no, we find it very awkward when we look at each other even though we are close friends, So okay, as a practitioners, I think at this panelists, I think based on our experience, clients, what is their goal of setting up a proper estate planning? That is the first question. Because I have a few weeks ago, one of my friends, he's also a practicing lawyer in Malaysia. So he posed me a question and saying that, hey, my client wish to set up a will and a trust now for his family and businesses. So what type of trust or what type of solution shall we provide to our clients? So my answer to him is that I say, what is the intention of setting up first, right? So for us as practicing lawyers, when we get such inquiries, even from our fellow lawyer friends, so we will not just jump into say, okay, you need a will, you need a trust. Perhaps they need foundation, or perhaps they even need something called the family office now, which was introduced earlier, end of last year, where I believe later on Ahmad was able to enlighten us more on that. But when we are practicing as a practitioner in estate planning, it's not merely giving them a product, we are giving them a solution, right? So I believe just now, Mr. Feizal, he's also keep on pushing for it. He said Amanah Raya is here to help for everyone, despite of the class of assets. And thereafter, I think Marvel, Eva has also given us some solutions saying that if you have global assets, you can perhaps source for trust. That's definitely a way out. For us practicing lawyers in estate planning, we give them a few options, like what we mentioned earlier, and we also have to look at the family dynamics. Where are the locations of the beneficiary? That's also the reason why we gathered global lawyers in today for our conference. It's because when we practicing, we have clients have global assets. They are not only having assets in Malaysia, they have in Singapore, they have in Thailand, they have in Hong Kong, Australia, US. So what are the laws in all these countries? That's why we gathered all the practitioners here today in the room. Hopefully we gain some insightful sharings with them for day 2. They are going to share us more. So that's from me, Jack, because we don't have a direct answer for your question, but you ask us practitioners, solution is always what the founder wants. What is he looking at for his family and legacy?
So I can say that's actually a key thing is actually to look into what type of a solution you're looking for is actually come back to the founder or the donor or whoever's actually setting up this kind of service, need to know what they need.
Yes,
is it?
Correct.
Okay, is it just since talking about it, right? Just want to give us some idea, right? That's actually based on your experience. Sorry, we just continue with us since we got the lawyer here, right? So the next thing is actually like, okay, for example, in the past cases that you have, right? You have people got plan, people don't have plan. Let's say that give us some case example, right? That's actually those people who plan for the legacy, basically whether it's actually a will or trust or whatever things that they do for their legacy planning, or versus those people who actually like plan a bit or maybe no plan at all, right? So I'm definitely sure there's actually you have experience on both sides, right? Can you give enlightenment a bit on example of that, right? Of course, Ivan, so Mr. Faisal, right, can add in. I think Amanah Raya or even the Mao side would have a fair share of that kind of experience before. So can you share a bit, starting from you?
Alright, I think you're talking about what our case studies or experience. I think for those who actually has a will or even they have actually planned for something with any advisor out there, always get the right advisor who advise you properly, because we have clients, I believe for any other jurisdictions the same, clients are cheapskate creature, they always want to do DIY, they have to do plans for themselves, they download it from website and they say I can do better than a lawyer. So we have that exactly every day in our firm, and then we do contested cases as well. So last year, one of our classic cases, 88 years old of our client, she's 88 and she's sued by her own children. So imagine auntie's 88 and how old are her children? They are all at the 60s and 70s, right? So there is a will, by the late husband, but the case was actually contested up to the Court of Appeal. The reason being, the will did not state the reason of why the husband neglected or didn't distribute to the children. So that's also one of the classic example. If clients want to do something called do-it-yourself will, then the risk is also do-it-yourself. Right, but of course, if our clients, all the plannings are perfect, then lawyers, I always say that in my talk as well, then lawyer, we don't need to find for any jobs anymore. Because anything can be contentious. That's the reason why we are here in the room, we are giving you solutions. But like what I mentioned, if you worth multi-billion dollar man, you don't play around with your plannings. You find a proper solution, proper advisor who has extremely well-versed advice. Yeah, if your assets are inclusive of global assets, please look for lawyers in that country, talk to them, what is your planning. You do not put in one lump sum will. Example, clients have 3 registration will in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. They want to do everything under the same bucket. That's also one of the classic example of clients. Yeah, so we don't advise that. That's the reason why today we have Elsa from Hong Kong, right, to advise us what to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like sounds like the clients actually that type of neither you have planning or no planning.
Planning or no planning is the same. You get
So
the right
self-planning
advice.
is wrong.
Yes.
Not wrong. I think it's actually
Not
more like
wrong.
it's dangerous to have that, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they are not professional and they are not sure about it, right? I think like like Sim says actually if they have any type of client like that, which is a lot, is it? Yeah, I think
Majority of Malaysians.
or Asians or just
Malaysian. I
Oh,
cannot speak for
Malaysians.
Asian. I'll wait for my panelists later tomorrow to share with us in their jurisdiction, are they facing the same issues as well? Having cheapskate client planning for themselves, and apparently they are sued and came back to us. But we are happy as a lawyer that we are paid for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
In
thank
that
you.
sense, right, I just great for the sharing. So in that sense, right, just pin off a bit, right. I think since Amanah Raya is here, and anyway, I'm from Amanah Raya itself also. But of course, since Encik Faizal is here, right. So just want to check since Sim was saying that, right, and just now Mr. Faizal was talking about the affordability and everything, and a way to go if you actually need to do something, at least the base or anything that can be done with Amanah Raya, right? So look at this, right? Like I just want to ask this like very funny question in the sense, I don't use the cheapskate word, so it's more on ever-changing demand of this kind of clients we have in Malaysia. So like they want this and they want that. In the same time I want to plan for it, and I have this amount of money and the kind of things. Ever-changing kind of demand. They have this and that, right? So Mr. Faizal, is like anything that's actually Amanah Raya doing like very contemporary kind of things. Like suddenly you need to change this or anything. Yeah.
I think before I answer that question, I would like to follow on the effects of lack of planning, right? And the effects of lack planning is nothing that we have to imagine. We just have to look at the statistics now. If I share some statistics with you, you will know why. And I'd like to quote Marco again. I like this golden circle as to why we are here. First of all, Amanah Raya was set up in 1921, so we've been around for more than 100 years. And if you can imagine the percentage of the population who has a will, take a guess. An abysmal 5%. Okay? And because of that, what is the consequences? You say, so what? So what if no one has a will? Well, to date, there are assets in the system which are in the limbo because they have not been handed down and they are involved in disputes. How much is this asset? Take a guess. Approximately 65 billion ringgit. Now, is that a lot? Is that a lot? Now, put it in context. How big is the Malaysian economy? About 1.3 trillion, right? If I assume the economic multiplier to be 1, that means 5% of the economy is in a limbo. Why? Because we don't care. Because of lack of planning. We take these things for granted. And I'm assuming economic multiplier is 1. And let's say if it's 2, that means 10% of the economy could have been utilized better. Right? So that's why we're so into this to create the awareness. We're solving a national problem. We're solving a national problem, right? So what is Amanah Raya doing about this? We are trying to make our services accessible to everyone. So recently, we launched our My Amanah Raya app. And My Amanah Raya app is essentially bringing our services into your phone. And through the app, you can connect to our agents, seek consultation, make appointments, right? And that's for will writing services. Of course, we are aware that we have trust services as well and estate administration service. So not everybody is too comfortable to do their will through the app. Of course, our agents will practice customer confidentiality, etc. But for more privacy and more delicate cases, we have 20 branches throughout Malaysia where we encourage our clients to walk in where our representatives will provide private consultations, because let's face it, death in a family is something that we don't prepare, we don't think about every day, and it's the inevitable. So when something like this happens, often families do not know how or where to begin. So that's why Amanah Raya is here, and we've made our services affordable. For example, our will now is 1,200 ringgit, and people can avail for 12-month 0% installment through certain credit cards. So if people tell me I don't have money, I won't accept this excuse anymore. Okay, so you can get a will from the app and pay through credit card 0%. Walk into our 20 branches available, and all our services are available on our website as well. Yeah, thank you, Jack.
Just for clarity, it's actually not selling. It's actually just FYI in the sense of how flexible and how to make it affordable in the sense of the concept. But I mean, a great example in the sense that if we want to sell, we have much more product. But in fact, yeah, sorry.
So I would just want to continue that. I mean, will writing is one of the basic services. I mean, this is, if anybody's talking about estate planning, before talking about trust or anybody, we must have a will first, right? And of course, we've evolved throughout the years. Recently, we've launched our Hibaku product, and this is especially relevant for Malaysians, whereby there is a huge awareness challenge to Amanah Raya to clearly clarify the advantages of will writing as opposed to the faraid law. I think this is the myth or the challenge we have, because a lot of Muslims out there feel that faraid is the substitute to will, which is simply not true. Will helps to ease the estate administration process, and more importantly, avoid disputes from happening. And of course, in addition to the Hibaku, Hibaku is a method where for Muslims it's a legally permissible way for them to transfer their assets while they're alive. And of course, I would say to people who want to avail for our Ferrari of our services, they should avail for our trust setup, where the arrangement is not just a one-time hand-me-down. It's a hand-me-down with instructions for the present and for future generations to come. So we have our trustee services as well for that.
Yeah, great. That's actually Mr. Feizal talking about the Muslims, right? I think in that sense, right, because talking about estate administration or even estate planning in Malaysia, right, a bit unique compared to the world, I suppose, because of the Muslim population and the requirement of law, right, in the sense of Sharia law. Just now mentioned about the faraid for the fellows practitioner who are actually not from Malaysia or overseas, right? Faraid is actually a form of Islamic law for the distribution. Technically speaking, it's like, for the non-Muslim in Malaysia, we are using Distribution Act, and for the Muslim, they actually have to follow the Faraid law, which is a form of a Muslim's distribution law. So I think with that, right, I think also wanted to just check, right, because we talk about Labuan offshore, and then we have the fantastic lawyer here. So just want to ask both of these ladies, right, first I want to say that, since the uniqueness of this, right, let's say, it's actually like in Labuan, right, a lot of, we talk about compliance, we talk about legality, we talk about jurisdictions, but part of it, right, if the person who came, or maybe in your experience, right, Dr. Iva, in the sense of like a Muslim, so you see in Malaysia you have the differential in the sense of, you talk about Faraid, you talk about the conventional in the sense of the Distribution Act, but what is actually Muslim actually came over, and how it works in the sense of for maybe Labuan offshore or other jurisdiction, how you choose, is it like you look into that the principle itself is actually like Muslim, non-Muslim, or is there any other practice that they actually have? Maybe share some experience, and maybe later, if anything, Ms. Lim, you can actually add on also. Yeah, just.
Okay, in terms of like Muslim, right, why a client choose a trust basically is to legally separate the asset, right, from personal belongings. So when one actually set up a trust, regardless whether it's onshore or offshore, right, it's already legally separated. So they can choose to do that. But in terms of offshore trust, I mean, it has enhanced asset protection. Why do I say that? If one is putting their asset in onshore, right? The local courts have still retained the jurisdiction, where there are other kind of law. I think Miss Sim can explain a little bit more on that. They can still challenge the trust setup, where the assets can be clawed back easily. But in terms of offshore, it's much more like immediate separation, asset protection. So once the asset is placed on offshore, of course, provided the intention to set up is not to defraud, then it will be permanent. Yeah, the chances of clawback is very minimal.
Okay, at least we have some enlightenment.
All right, so you're asking what is the, offshores, as setting ups and for clients. I think for us practitioners, we don't say that it's for, like, Eva is saying not for defraud, right? Again, us as practitioners, we are not siding. I can't be siding, right? Amanah Raya is my platinum, Margo is also my platinum sponsor, so I better, watch what I'm saying. Right, so but as a practitioners, I think it's up to clients. What is the purpose again of setting up? Is it for privacy? I would say privacy and confidential. They don't want to make it private, then offshore is the way out, right? But if you are saying that I don't mind, my businesses are all in onshore, then definitely a trust created with Amanah Rayas, or even a wasiat or hiba makes sense. Depends on the religions of one. Yeah. So for the benefit of our international delegates as well, because Malaysia, we are a Muslim country, but of course we practice common law as well. Yeah, so it backs to our religion. Yeah, but again, for asset administration matters, it goes back to the civil court. It's not in the Sharia court. Sharia courts basically just give us the faraid certificate to say who are the beneficiaries, and thereafter that particular administration process is actually listened and also heard in High Court civil practice, right? So hopefully that explains, yeah, Jack. So. Yeah.
Great. Actually, can I conclude in the sense of
yes.
As long as you actually have a very good planning in the sense of your trust, I'm not saying it's will or anything, specifically we're talking about trust. So as long as you have a good planning and you are clear with the principle, what they want, like earlier Miss Sim you mentioning, right? And of course, once you set it up right, whether it's actually because it's a practicing common law in Malaysia, right? So whether it's actually you're Muslim or non-Muslim, right? Doesn't really matter anymore because you already set aside in the sense of trust. Can I say it's like that? Or
That's right.
Okay, yeah, just to, it is great to actually have all these ladies and gentlemen to actually give us an idea of this, right? So I think before we I don't really have much question, but now we actually want to throw it to the floor, if I may. So I did ask the organizer whether I can throw questions, let the questions from the floor. So I would like to have from the floor. Marco, yeah, here come. I want to walk also. Yeah, so it's too much of sitting. Thank you.
Normally I am the icebreaker in this, and well, given that estate planning is not my domain, but I'm curious, and I'm supposed to be a lawyer, so I know how to interact with colleagues and other professionals. How do you cooperate with institutions like yours, also as lawyers, when you realize that the beneficiaries and the assets are located in different countries? I mean, not only Malaysia. So you have to detect, this beneficiary is not here, subject to another jurisdiction, or even to our jurisdiction. But so the question is, how do you cooperate with the institute? If you, what are the ways used for cooperation with other institutions like yours in different jurisdictions? Thank you.
Question two.
Question to the panels. Actually, anybody in the panel, I think will be a combination of since talk about jurisdiction and corporates, right? I think part of it is actually to Mr. Feizal and also of course Miss Sim also, and then of course if there's anything from Ivan, Prime Minister here.
The first point is a phase of realization of the assets under the estate, and this involves a phase of searching, of identifying all the assets. And once the assets are identified, then we have to do a process what we call resealing the process. To reseal the process might be a bit intricate, but it would, for Malaysia, for example, the process would be easier when we resale assets for the Commonwealth countries, for example. Non-Commonwealth, we can still resale, but it will take some time. And this is what we're doing over time to ease the resealing process. For example, currently we are working with the Singaporean government to work on a common platform. It's like your double taxation treaty agreement, right? So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, it's a resealing process.
Yeah, just add a bit on that, right? That's where that's actually whether it's actually I think talking about on a government to government arrangement or just following the normal legal process in the sense of we just need to go to the court of the other jurisdiction to just get it. I think Eva want to say something.
I would just want to do a bit of advertisements for Malaysia as well. I mean, whilst we have these resealing activities, we notice that especially foreigners who have assets in Malaysia would like to have their wills in Malaysia. And why is that? Because the inheritance tax in Malaysia is nil. And that's why I get some of my friends, Japanese people, say, I want your estate business in Malaysia very good. Why? Because it's tax free. And guess what? The inheritance tax in Japan is. Anybody can guess? 55%.
Oh my God.
55%.
That's huge.
8%. 8.
So just a bit of advertisement. Park all your assets in Malaysia, okay?
Yeah, in terms of Marco question about beneficiary in other jurisdictions, right? So offshore trust can actually facilitate the transfer as well, because when the trust is being set up, we will identify the beneficiaries, how it's going to be distributed, because everything needs to be contained in the trustee. So in that case, we already identify the beneficiary when the trust was set up. So again, we're talking about planning. Planning, we are looking ahead, what the client actually wants. So there's no standard solution for any cases, but it's just we need to look at what is the main intention of the client when they are doing estate planning. Do they want to look for lower costs, and do they want to look for private arrangement? Because some of the asset distribution can be very sensitive. They want to, if they are having mega assets, they might not want to disclose how the assets are being distributed. So in this case, trust is the only choice. Okay, and also at Bubble, we collaborate with certain asset management, international asset management, where we can also let the client to choose what type of investment they can choose to offset certain costs of setting up the trust.
Okay,
thank you.
Get it? I think Missy?
A word or two from you?
I need to make some advertisement for Will as well. Worldwide Lawyers League, right? For lawyers in the room, please join us. Marco, I'm doing a right job, isn't it? Right? So, no, because Marco's question was, how are we supposed to actually, if we have clients having overseas assets, how are we supposed to reach out to the right contact? So, for myself, because I'm in Will for many years and I'm their lifetime members, so what I benefit from Will is actually we get to connect with our colleagues very easily. Just a call away. It's the matter of the time difference only. Like when I talk to Mark, he's morning, I'm night, right? So you just bear with the time. And I say, hey Mark, I got this issue about this texting, and immediately Mark will just reply to me and say, okay, Sim, this is this. So this is how we collaborate with international lawyers. And I think this is where the importance of Will as an association gathers global lawyers to come on board, to share knowledge as well as to leverage onto the information on our experience. Most importantly, because you can just Google anyway. You can Google for a law firm in Spain or whatsoever, but you may not be getting the right advice and the right cost, right? So these people will say, okay, you want to talk to me, you want to ask me how, is there any Italian's inheritance tax? The guy will be charging me perhaps a few thousands before he's able to say yes or no. So but with this kind of network with Will, we have colleagues everywhere around the globe. We just can call from India, Kalyani or whatnot, she'll be enlightening me with her colleagues specialized in this matter on the right dot. So I think that answers Marco's questions as well, gathering all people in the same place and we share, yes, and provide a better and best advice for our client. Yeah. That's all, Marco. I hope I answer and do the advertisement, right? Thank you.
I just have to say that we actually still have probably 7 minutes, right? So actually, instead of she continue, I just want to have another question from the floor. Anybody have any question? Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Sorry, that's too fast, so I need to pass the mic. One more.
Thank you, Max Breitling from Munich, Germany. I must point out that I'm not an inheritance lawyer, but I can give some remarks and I can underline several sayings especially from Ahmad. Also in Germany and in Europe, they don't care. I have an example from my own family. I began my studies in Munich in the late 80s, and since 1996 I'm a lawyer. And my family, my parents, they moved from Germany to Austria and had quite a complex beneficiary and asset package. And I told them, I think 30 years, I told them, please choose the law under which you want to be inherited. They didn't. So 13 years ago, my father passed away, and we had quite a pure chaos with German inheritance law, Austrian inheritance law, and the heirs, my siblings and me, living in the US, in Austria, and in Germany. That made it more complex. So I just can shout out and underline, please care when your assets and your beneficiaries are above a certain amount of assets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, on top of that, I would like to add a little bit and do a little bit of advertisement. So at Marvel Capital, actually, we specialize in offshore trust solution. Our specialty is on Hong Kong trust jurisdiction. So we select Hong Kong because of few reasons. First, it is a leading financial centers, so we are able to consolidate all global assets in one roof, and they are very transparent and also global compliance in terms of tax reporting. So by putting their assets into Hong Kong Trust, there's no worry about all these tax issue and etc. And also, Hong Kong has no inheritance tax. Hong Kong has no capital gain tax for assets derived from offshore assets. But unless it's a general business, then it will subject to profit tax. But if it's an asset generating from offshore, then definitely there will be no capital gain tax as well.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes. I think instead of going around, right? One more last question. Is it okay? Or that's another one here. There. Sorry, your name? I'll just come over there. It's okay. Faster.
Hi, thanks. Good morning. My name is Boon Gang from Singapore. I'm a colleague of Marco and Sims. I wanted to ask a slightly more historical, systemic question, just to understand, because in Singapore we don't have anything like Amanah Raya. And I was wondering, because it sounded like to me that the functions or the capabilities overlap. So for example, in Singapore, in a slightly related context for bankruptcy, it used to be that the official assignee will be the bankruptcy trustee. But a few years ago that changed, and now we all have to get our own private trustees. Shout out to Ray, that's Ray. So Ray knows. So just to get back to the question, how do we know, as foreign counsel or as a foreigner, how do we know, do we go to the lawyer first or do we go to Amanah Raya first? Or is there a difference in terms of the people who can go to Amanah Raya and people who have to go to lawyers? Is there a differentiation like that? Or is it just what the market wants?
I think this question is actually for Amanah Raya, but before Mr. Feizal answer the question, first I have to correct that in the sense of Singapore, they do have equivalent, but they actually call the Public Trustee Office, right? Public Trustee and Insolvency Office, which is actually under the Ministry of Law, but their power in Singapore is actually restricted in the sense of not as same as ours, which is actually we do a 3 role like Mr. Feizal was talking about: administration, estate administration power, the public trustee power, and also the executor power. But in Singapore, it's actually purely trustee, right? What I understand from Singapore, like Mr. Feizal was saying, is that we're having a talk, which is actually PTO itself, the Public Trustee Office itself. So what they actually have, they're mainly looking after, right, the CPF that actually not named. So, and Also, any other insurance that's actually not named, right, will goes to them. So those which is unclaimed dead people's money, if I can use the word, right, it goes to the BTO. So that's why the others, right, is actually on the voluntary format, which is similar to Amanah Raya, which is actually when you anybody can go in. But voluntary, they are restricted. That's why in Malaysia. So the second question of yours is Amanah Raya, how they actually approach us, right? I think we have 20 branches that actually any public, right, that wanted to have administration arrangement, be tested or intested, they can just walk into Amanah Raya branch, right, to actually enroll as voluntary to do it, whether in the trust format or the estate administration perspective. Yeah.
No, I think in the will writing purview, that there will be a lot of overlaps there. Okay, in terms of trustee services, yes, there's a lot of overlap. But in terms of estate administration, now this is where there's no overlap. In terms of the authority to allow the distribution, there's only 3 parties who have the authority. One is Amanah Raya, second is the Land Office, and third is the High Court. So that's where our unique position lies. And of course, as I mentioned, Amanah Raya has the unique feature that we can represent the beneficiaries in becoming the executor, for the beneficiary. Why I say this? This is a practical problem. I mean, last week I had a case where Yowan just discovered his brother passed on, right? And she thinks that the brother has got more liabilities than debt, right? And she doesn't want to handle it. So I say, this is the perfect example. They can actually appoint Amanah Raya to handle it. Because handling estates, I mean, when it involves debts and that, it can be intricate, and Yowan doesn't have a clue how or where to begin, right?
I think in that sense, maybe we can talk with the Singapore government more and make it more better. And just for this round, we say that we actually done more and better, I suppose. Okay, I think, sorry, how many minutes? Yeah. Sorry, no more already, but sorry, please. Sorry, your name? Yeah, Luis. I'll see you after this, Luis. We'll get that question up. I think great, and thank you very much to the panelists here. Sorry. Okay, but before that, right, I think it's actually just last note, right, in the sense of each of the panelists, right, to just give a note, right, on their sayings. Yeah. Maybe since Mr. Feizal, you have the mic with you, you start first. Sorry, ladies.
I think since our main objective and why we've sponsored this JGBC, I mean, forget about types of services, it's just the lack of awareness is the number one problem. So my advice to everyone, please, money is not your most precious commodity. Your most precious commodity is time. So I plan early, and when time goes by, you'll never come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Faisal. I think the finishing notes is very good. From our side, I feel like why we sponsor and why we join this event basically is for education for the public, and all of you are practitioners. Through the sharing and also connection, right, we can provide a better solution for client in terms of estate planning. Now, just to add a little bit, apart from time, right, money, it can be we can earn unlimited money during our lifetime, but what happens to this wealth? So we need to really plan it properly so that it can be distributed effortlessly as well. If this asset, when it is distributed, it creates family dispute, it is against our view, right? So it's very important to start planning and know a little bit more about estate planning and help our client better.
30 seconds, because the guy was looking at me. Okay, I think it's keeping the harmony in the family, because I think money and whatnot, I think Feizal as well as Eva has spoken about it, but when we practitioners look at the issue, is always how to maintain and have the harmony maintained for generations to come, right? I think Chinese, we have a proverb that wealth doesn't last for 3 generations. Now I realize it's 2 generations, because if you talk to your kids today, what you want to be in the future, they say, I want to be a YouTuber, a TikToker. Nobody says I want to be a practitioner anymore, right? So that worries us a lot. So that's the reason why our JGBC as well, education, and we are spreading. And hopefully with this opening, we are able to have a more meaningful discussion after this, after all the other panel discussion, and we stay in this network and to grow and leverage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And my last note, since we talk so much, right? So anyway, I think the three words are thank you, right? But I'll say that plan. So just do that, and also poor doesn't last for 3 generations. So if 2 cut short, right, so it means that they will get rich back. Anyway, thank you very much, and a round of applause to the panelists.
Thank you to the panelists. Panelists, please remain on stage, as we would like to invite Mr. Marco to give out the certificate of presentation to all these wonderful panelists. Thank you, Mr. Jaya, for being a very good moderator. Next, thank you to Ms. Sim for valuable sharings. It's very great to have that insightful sharings of yours. Thank you to Mr. Ahmad Feizal Sulaiman Khan. And not to forget, thank you to Dr. Eva Wong. Truly, what an insightful first panel we just had. We hope you're feeling more equipped and inspired about the art and science behind legacy planning. Dear all panelists, please remain on stage as we would like to take this beautiful moment. Thank you so much, our panelists.